this. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today we are going to talk about very important topic of Pakistan affairs. And this topic, proxy war and role of external elements, is a contemporary issue, and this is very important issue. I chose this topic. It is mentioned in your syllabus. This topic is also important when you cover your IR second paper. Such type of questions come in that particular part as well, and it may also help you out in current affairs as well. So this topic is very important, and we need to understand that what type of external elements, or you can say external threats, Pakistan is facing right now. So proxy war is a very, in a very simple language, is a hybrid kind of warfare in which your enemies, they try to, not directly but indirectly, covertly try to sabotage peace and create, chaos in your country. So since 1947, India and Pakistan, they have been, up against each other, and both countries have, played negative role against each other, and they fought many wars, and they are also having some, unresolved issues like Kashmir dispute, water issue. You got terrorism and extremism issue. Both countries also carry out, covert, intelligence operations against each other. So they are, against each other, and they have been fighting against each other overtly and covertly since long. If you analyze, India and Pakistan's border situation, so this map would tell you that most of the troops deployment by India and by Pakistan is on the border against each other. So both countries are, you know, involved against each other. So, but in this topic, in today's topic, we are going to talk about, proxy war, hybrid warfare, or external threats to Pakistan, and primarily Pakistan's, threat perception revolves mainly around India. So today's lecture would be, focusing on India solely. Although we also had, many issues from Afghanistan, we have covered the Afghanistan part in the previous lectures, so I may not touch that. So we are going to talk about the India's hybrid warfare against Pakistan, that what type of, threats India is posing to Pakistan, and how we can counter these threats. So let's quickly understand, first of all, what is hybrid warfare. Actually, the hybrid warfare is mixture of conventional and non-conventional warfare strategies, in which sometimes you directly, carry out violence against your enemy and try to sabotage or try to, capitalize on the weaknesses of your enemy, and sometimes you directly attack the enemy. So hybrid warfare, Pakistan is facing this hybrid warfare situation in modern times. Although this hybrid warfare phenomena is not new, as I told you before, that India and Pakistan, they have been, up against each other since long. But in modern times, it has, gained momentum, and India is now creating serious troubles for Pakistan. So before we move forward, let's first of all understand what is hybrid warfare. So in hybrid warfare, sometimes state and sometimes non-state actors are involved against a particular country. For example, let's take the example of Pakistan. India sometimes officially carries out attack against Pakistan. For example, the surgical strike recently, which India conducted in February 2019. So it was state actor which, crossed the international border and tried to, carry out a surgical strike in Pakistani Balakot. But at the same time, sometimes the non-state actors also, they are being used against Pakistan. For example, the Indians, they have been using TTP and BLA and other types of non-state actors against Pakistan to create subversion in Pakistan. Then the second aspect of a characteristic of a hybrid warfare is that it is flexible, and the enemy and your adversary is fluid. So it is flexible का मतलब ये है कि ये कोई एक जगह पे आप attack नहीं करते. They sometimes they would carry out attack in Balochistan, sometimes they would carry out attack in Waziristan, sometimes they would carry out an attack in Lahore, Peshawar. So if you analyze, Pakistan have faced such type of attacks across the country. Another, you can say part or characteristic of hybrid warfare is offensive diplomacy, in which your enemy, for example, India, would carry out offensive diplomacy against Pakistan, and they would try to malign Pakistan internationally. और यही हो रहा है अगर आप internationally देखें तो India is carrying out offensive diplomacy against Pakistan, जिसमें they designate Pakistan as a terrorist supporting country, and they believe that whatsoever happens in India or IHK, Indian held Kashmir, it is Pakistan who is responsible for that. So in the another example of offensive diplomacy is that India, boycotted SARC summits many times over, and because of that, we could not, carry out inter-regional connectivity. So they also, asked Bangladesh and Afghanistan, Bhutan, and other regional powers, regional countries in South Asia to not to attend the SARC summit. This is the India's attempt to regionally isolate Pakistan, but at the same time, the Indians are also trying to internationally isolate Pakistan through their vicious campaign, जिसके अंदर वो they carry out offensive diplomacy, जिसके अंदर वो अपना मीडिया के जरिए से and they try to create bad image of Pakistan internationally. अच्छा, the चौथी characteristic hybrid warfare की क्या है? That your enemy would carry out media campaign, propaganda, and fake news. For example, India, they have got about 300 channels, and these channels, round the clock, they, spit violence against Pakistan or Pakistan के खिलाफ fake reporting कर रहे होते हैं बहुत सारी. For example, let me give you an example of one of the channel which was a leading channel, NDTV, in which in one of the program, the media anchor, he showed an engine of an aircraft, and he asked the expert. Initially, he said this is the F-16 engine, that they shot down F-16. But when he asked the expert who was sitting there in the studio, he said this is not F-16. This is actually Su-30 Indian aircraft, the Russian aircraft. So such type of fake propaganda they are doing, sitting in India, and they are trying to create bad image of Pakistan, or they try to malign Pakistan. अच्छा, उसके बाद hybrid warfare के अंदर ही there is another thing which is called proxy war, and proxy war is part of hybrid warfare actually, in the broader sense. India, through Afghanistan, they use proxies against Pakistan. For example, India directly, they would never come and attack Pakistan, but they would use proxies. And who are their proxies? Their proxies are TTP, their proxies are BLA, their proxies are ISKP, and such other attack, other terrorist organizations who would carry out violence, for India in Pakistan, for money and for other things. So this is something, proxy war, which is there, and India is carrying out such type of war in Pakistan since long, और वो करते आ रहे हैं. अच्छा, उसके बाद engineered social movements. Engineered social movements का मतलब है कि India or any other country, they would support some political movements in Pakistan, which may try to cut Pakistan into many pieces. For example, in the 50s, Indians, Russians, and the Afghans, they supported some Pashtun movements in Pakistan, and they who wanted to create a separate homeland, Pakhtunistan, Greater Pakhtunistan in this region. तो पाकिस्तान से तोड़ के पख्तून बेल्ट को दे वांटेड टू क्रिएट अ ग्रेटर पख्तूनिस्तान. इसी तरह से बलूचिस्तान की भी है, आपने देखी. GS महाज भी आपने देखा, those who wanted to establish another separate homeland. अच्छा, तो ये जो सारी चीजें हैं, ये सारी चीजें होती हैं इंजीनियर सोशल मूवमेंट्स के जरिए से, और इनको डेफिनेटली जो आपका दुश्मन मुल्क है, दे फंड दीज मूवमेंट्स, और उनको वो सपोर्ट भी करते हैं. अच्छा, आपके आर्मी चीफ ने रेफरेंस दिया अभी रिसेंटली, जो PTM है, I don't agree with his opinion, but still he gave reference to PTM, that PTM is also engineered social movements, whereas if you analyze PTM की बहुत सारी बातें जो है वो ठीक हैं. They ask for the repatriation of the IDPs. They asked for the compensation of the local people. They asked for release of missing persons. ये सारी वो जो genuine बातें हैं, लेकिन कुछ उनकी बातें जो है which I don't agree, जिसमें वो they try to attack the institutions, and इंडिया के अफगानिस्तान के साथ कुछ ज्यादा उनके जो inclination है, that creates doubts in the minds of the establishment of Pakistan. तो जिसकी वजह से उसने बाजवा साहब ने इनको इंजीनियर सोशल मूवमेंट का नाम दिया, which is I think too aggressive. इसके अलावा cyber attacks, yes of course, that is also part of hybrid warfare, in which your enemy, they try to sabotage your civil military installations through cyber attacks, और malware के जरिए से और viruses उसके अंदर डाल के और उसको खराब करने की कोशिश करते हैं. At this moment पाकिस्तान और इंडिया के दरमियान ये जो साइबर वॉरफेयर है बहुत छोटे लेवल पे है, लेकिन in future it may may create serious troubles for both countries. उसके अलावा टेररिज्म एंड इंसर्जेंसीज प्रॉक्सी वॉर के ही एक ऑफशूट्स हैं, और जो ऑलरेडी मैंने आपको बता दिया है कि द इंडियंस दे हैव बीन कैरिंग आउट टेररिज्म एंड एक्सट्रीमिज्म इन पाकिस्तान सिंस लॉन्ग. तो 1947 से लेके आज तक दे हैव बीन डूइंग ऑल दीस थिंग्स इन डिफरेंट शेप्स, इन डिफरेंट मैनर, and with different modus operandis. And of course covert operations, Kulbhushan Yadav type of people, they were captured in Pakistan. So this is what we call hybrid warfare. This is the mixture of conventional and non-conventional strategies, जिसके अंदर बहुत सारी चीजें आपका दुश्मन करता है ताकि वो आपकी जो सिक्योरिटी है उसको अंडरमाइन कर सके, आपकी इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी को अंडरमाइन कर सके, आपकी पॉलिटिकल जो आपके अंदर स्टेबिलिटी है उसको अंडरमाइन कर सके, आपके मुल्क के अंदर सेक्टेरियन वायलेंस क्रिएट कर सके, आपकी जो पॉलिटिकल फॉल्ट लाइंस हैं उनको डिस्टर्ब कर सके. सो ऑल दीज स्टेप्स your enemy take in hybrid warfare, and this is what we call hybrid warfare. और जो proxy war है वो इसी की एक शाख है. So आपसे जो क्वेश्चन आएगा पाकिस्तान अफेयर्स में वो हाइब्रिड वॉरफेयर के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आ सकता है. तो अगर प्रॉक्सी वॉर पे आता है तो ये सारी चीजें उसमें भी आ सकती हैं, तो यू कैन इंक्लूड दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग इन दैट डिबेट एज वेल. Acha, now let's move forward. Let me give you some examples of hybrid warfare in modern times, or from the history. For example, India, the classical example of hybrid warfare was Mukti Bahini in 1971. We had some political issues in East Pakistan when Pakistan in the 70s, and India manipulated that particular weakness of Pakistan, and they capitalized on the Pakistan's political weaknesses and geographical limitations. Geographical limitation इस तरह से कि पाकिस्तान बांग्लादेश जो था ईस्ट पाकिस्तान उससे बहुत दूर था, उसके दरमियान में India was there, and India shared border with East Pakistan. So automatically India shared about 4,000 plus kilometer border with East Pakistan at that time, Bangladesh के साथ. तो आराम से वहां से वो इंसर्जेंट्स को, मिलिटेंट्स को ट्रेन कर सकते थे, and this is what they did. So Mukti Bahani, India trained a force Mukti Bahani in 1970s. In 1968 में उन्होंने शुरू कर दिया था ये काम after the establishment of the research and analysis wing, and they established a force of about 150,000, and they equipped these people, they nurtured these people in India, they provided training of sabotage, training of guerrilla warfare to these people. So this was actually the classical example of hybrid warfare, and they implemented this particular thing, this strategy against Pakistan in the 1971, and Pakistan was dismembered because of that aggressive strategy of India. So this is the one first classical example which I gave you. Another example is the covert operations in which India employed their spies, and they deployed their spies in Pakistan. For example, Ravinder Koshak, he spent many years in Pakistan army as an Indian spy, and he provided crucial information to India for for the longer period of time. He was also considered as a tiger in India's in the intelligence community. Later on आपने वो मूवी भी देखी होगी सलमान खान की, जिसके अंदर वो एक था टाइगर की मूवी, एक्चुअली वो इसी से इंस्पायर होकर उन्होंने बनाई थी, और इसके ऊपर बाद में काफी ज्यादा कॉपीराइट्स की इशू भी आए, उसकी फैमिली ने इसके ऊपर रेज किया. But this is just for reference के such type of hybrid warfare was there in Pakistan since long. और ये इस तरह के जो spies हैं, they have been creating troubles for Pakistan since long. उसके बाद ये सुरजीत सिंह, he was another militant, you can say, spy of India, raw, and he spent 28 years in Pakistani jail, and he was released in 2008 in a goodwill gesture by Pakistan, just to support and promote Aman Ki Asha strategy, policy of PPP and India at that time. Sarabjit Singh was another, terrorist or spy of India who was, captured about 22 years ago, and he was killed in a jail in Pakistan. Then you had Kirpal Singh and Kashmir Singh. ये वो सारे वो लोग हैं. These spies were captured, by Pakistan, and this, spent 2 decades or about 3 decades in Pakistani jails, and ultimately Pakistan released these people in a goodwill gesture. So these are few examples of proxy war. These are few examples of hybrid warfare, covert operations, intelligence-based operations by India against Pakistan. But this was just a backgrounder. India's hybrid warfare strategy or proxy war strategy gained momentum after 2008 situation. Why and how? In 2008, what happened in 2008? Mumbai attacks took place in 2008, in which more than 177 Indians they were killed by militants supported by Lashkar-e-Taiba and their associates. And this particular attack, was serious attack on the Indian homeland. And India could not, attack Pakistan in return. They could not even carry out surgical strike against Pakistan. So what was the reason behind? The reason was simple, that Pakistan had credible nuclear deterrence, number one, and Pakistan's conventional capabilities were also quite good. So India could not attack any, carry out any limited strike against Pakistan. So India employed another strategy. India realized कि जी अब हमें पाकिस्तान को किसी और तरीके से मारना पड़ेगा. And they initiated and they established a secret unit in the Indian Army with the name Technical Services Division, TSD, in 2008 under General VK Singh. So this secret unit aimed at mainly primarily 3 operations. First operation was Operation Seven Sisters, which was aimed at in the northeast, against the against the Naxal movement. The second operation was Operation Rahbar. It aimed at Indian occupied Kashmir, in which they targeted the Kashmiri leaders. They tried to bribe them. They tried to take them into fold, and they tried to assassinate many people in Kashmir who were not ready to reconcile with India. But the third operation, Operation Deep Strike, it was aimed at Pakistan. And the idea of this operation was to take out core leadership of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Hafiz Saeed, Rahmal Lakhvi, Sajid Mir, and these were the main targets under this particular operation. And in this operation, they planned, and they wanted to kill Hafiz Saeed actually in reality in Pakistan. So they tried to execute this operation. They established their network in Pakistan, and they were successful in taking out, a very key figure of Lashkar-e-Taiba in 2013. In 2013, Khalid Bashir, who was the LET, Lashkar-e-Taiba's security chief, he was abducted from Lahore, and ultimately his body was found after a few, days, maybe on the next day, after 2 days maybe, and later on when the investigation took place, the raw agents and he fled Pakistan, but his associates who were Pakistanis, they were apprehended. So the Indians, first time ever, they carried out this a direct attack, जिसमें वो कहते हैं ना घर में घुस के मारना, उन्होंने वो काम किया. They entered Pakistan, and then they established their network in Pakistan, a secret network which targeted Lashkar-e-Taiba's security chief. और उसको मारने के बाद दे फ्लड, दे लेफ्ट पाकिस्तान। उसके बाद फिर ये हाफिज सईद वगैरह जितने भी हैं, इनकी सिक्योरिटी को काफी ज्यादा बीफ अप कर दिया गया, बिकॉज दे आर एसेट ऑफ पाकिस्तान इन रियलिटी। अच्छा, so this was first step which India took under technical service division. Technical service division was a secret unit, okay? अच्छा, उसके बाद इसी secret unit के तहत Kulbhushan Yadav, who was also Indian spy, and he was captured in Pakistani Balochistan areas, and he was stationed in Chabahar, Iran. So from there, he used to carry out terrorism and extremism inside Pakistan. He used to provide funds, intelligence support, recruitment as well, in Pakistan. Um, According to Indian, media's reports, technical, Kulbhushan Yadav also applied for technical service division, this particular secret division, and reportedly he was working under this division to create, hybrid warfare, or carry out proxy warfare inside Pakistan. Acha, so Kulbhushan Yadav, what he was doing in Pakistan. According to his confession, I hope आप सबने सुना होगा, अगर नहीं सुना तो प्लीज इसका कन्फेशन ऑनलाइन पड़ा हुआ है, फेसबुक पे पड़ा हुआ है, उस पे यूट्यूब पे, प्लीज लिसन टू इट। इसका वर्ड बाय वर्ड जितनी ट्रांसक्रिप्ट आप उसको जरूर सुने। I'll give you the snapshot. I will give you the just overview of his confession. In his confession, he accepted that he is currently commander of the Indian Navy. Okay, now I will tell you that why a naval officer was deployed in Chabahar to create subversion in Balochistan. इसको हम बाद में डिस्कस करते हैं, बट पहले इसका हम ये डिस्कस करते हैं कि why he was there in Pakistan. He was there in Chabahar to create problems in Pakistan. The idea was simple: to disrupt CPAC in Balochistan. Number one. Number two, to provide weapon, equipment, funds, intelligence input to BLA and other terrorist organizations in Pakistan, like TTP and others. Third, to target peace and security, undermine peace and security of Karachi, because Karachi is the financial hub of Pakistan. So he also accepted in his confession that he was also involved in Karachi as well, and just to undermine security in Karachi, a port city of Pakistan. So Pakistan, gets become economically crippled country. Let me give you another let me quote General Zubair Hayat of Pakistan, who is four-star general in Pakistan. He said in one of his speech that India has established $500 million worth of secret unit, secret cell to disrupt CPAC. So इतना पैसा लगा के they want to disrupt CPAC, और CPAC को disrupt करने के लिए they deployed a naval officer in Chabahar. What was the idea behind? The idea was to to carry out maritime attacks on Pakistan's जितनी भी inbound outbound हमारी जितनी भी oil की supplies और जितना भी आते हैं ना ये tankers वगैरह, और cargo ships, merchandise और बाकी जो ships आते हैं हमारे मुल्क में, कराची पोर्ट पे आते हैं या गवादर पे आएंगे. So to carry out attacks against those cargo ships or oil tankers. अब एक oil tanker जो है it worth millions of dollars. अगर एक टैंकर वहां पे डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाता है, इमेजिन करें कि क्या पाकिस्तान के साथ कोई और ट्रेड करेगा. एक अटैक हुआ था श्रीलंकन टीम के ऊपर 2009 में. Even today in 2021, nobody is willing to play in Pakistan. Zimbabwe आ जाता है, कभी श्रीलंका आ जाता है, but major you can say cricket teams like Australia, like England, they are still not coming to Pakistan. Why? Because of that particular attack. तो इसका भी यही आइडिया था पीछे कि let's carry out maritime attacks on through using BLA proxies. BLA वगैरह को आगे कर देंगे, and they would carry out maritime attacks on those tankers through fast boats, और उसके जरिए explosive material उसमें रख के अगर उसको क्रैश कर देंगे तो जो टैंकर है वो तो ऑलरेडी एक चलता फिरता बॉम्ब ही है. तो such type of attacks could have seriously disrupted trade, maritime trade of Pakistan. और इनका जो ये एक्सपर्ट था बंदा, ये जो ना ये कुलभूषण यादव, ही वाज एक्सपर्ट, और इसने अपना फेक पासपोर्ट बनाया हुआ था हुसैन मुबारक पटेल के नाम से। लेकिन जब ये पकड़ा गया तो दोनों पासपोर्ट इसे रिकवर हुए और ही वाज कैप्चर्ड इन बलोचिस्तान। और उसके बाद इसके साथ जो कुछ भी हुआ वो सारा आपको मीडिया से में मौजूद है इसका। So this was another example of hybrid warfare or intelligence warfare against Pakistan, or example of covert operations against Pakistan. अच्छा, तो इसके बाद एक इंडिया का जो नेशनल सिक्योरिटी एडवाइजर है, his name is Ajit Doval. Ajit Doval was also ex-spy, or he also spent about 7 years in Pakistan when he was a spy. और उसके अंदर उसने पाकिस्तान के अंदर रह के काफी ज्यादा गंद किया, काफी ज्यादा पाकिस्तान के अंदर उसने टेररिस्ट और जो प्रॉक्सीज थी और उनको सपोर्ट किया previously. After his retirement, he was hired by Modi government as an advisor to their national security, and now currently he is key person when it comes to India's intelligence warfare or covert operations against Pakistan. तो अजीत डोवल ने अपनी एक स्ट्रैटेजी दी है डिफेंसिव ऑफेंस डॉक्ट्राइन के नाम से, डिफेंसिव ऑफेंस डॉक्ट्राइन। अच्छा, ये क्या होता है? लेट मी फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल एक्सप्लेन दिस स्ट्रैटेजी। एक होता है ऑफेंसिव ऑफेंस। ऑफेंसिव ऑफेंस का मतलब है कि आप आउटराइटली दुश्मन पे अटैक कर देते हैं, जिस तरह 65 की जंग थी या जिस तरह 71 की जंग थी। अच्छा, वो तो पॉसिबल नहीं है। वो इसलिए पॉसिबल नहीं है बिकॉज पाकिस्तान इज अ न्यूक्लियर वेपन स्टेट नाउ, एंड पाकिस्तान हैज आल्सो इंप्रूव्ड इट्स कन्वेंशनल कैपेबिलिटीज। आर्मी, एयरफोर्स, नेवी, तीनों लेवल पे पाकिस्तान की जो सिक्योरिटी है, डिफेंस है, वो काफी ज्यादा मजबूत हो चुका है। तो नाउ फाइटिंग अ टोटल वॉर अंडर न्यूक्लियर अम्ब्रेला is not a good idea. तो ऑफेंस ऑफेंस इज नॉट पॉसिबल। दूसरा है डिफेंस, ठीक है। अब डिफेंस जो है उसको, वो भी ठीक नहीं है आइडिया। उसकी वजह ये है कि आप बस अपने घर को, अपनी चार दीवारी को मजबूत करें और दुश्मन अगर आपके घर आता है तो उसको वहीं पे डिफेंड करें। इसको कहते हैं डिफेंसिव डिफेंस। अच्छा, डिफेंसिव डिफेंस जो था वो भी अच्छी आइडिया, वो भी अच्छी स्ट्रैटेजी नहीं है, ठीक है। क्योंकि उसमें ये हुआ कि इंडिया पे जो दहशतगर्द है उन्होंने जाके इंडिया पे बहुत सारे अटैक्स करने शुरू कर दिए। जैसे लश्कर तैयबा ने मुंबई अटैक्स कर दिया और इंडियन पार्लियामेंट वाज आल्सो अटैक्ड। तो इन्होंने कहा यार ये डिफेंसिव डिफेंस वाली स्ट्रैटेजी जो है, यानी कि घर बैठ के हम अपना डिफेंस करें, ये दिस इज नॉट अ गुड आइडिया एज वेल। तीसरा जो आइडिया था वो था डिफेंसिव ऑफेंस। डिफेंसिव ऑफेंस का मतलब ये है टू कैरी आउट प्रीएम्प्टिव स्ट्राइक। प्रीएम्प्टिव स्ट्राइक का मतलब ये है टू गो टू दैट एरिया जहां से थ्रेट ओरिजिनेट हो रहा है और वहां जाके लेट्स एलिमिनेट दैट थ्रेट देयर इन देयर हाउस। तो इसकी जो सिंपल मीनिंग है वो ये है कि पाकिस्तान से थ्रेट ओरिजिनेट हो रहा है। कौन ओरिजिनेट कर रहा है? लश्कर तैयबा ओरिजिनेट कर रही है या पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट ओरिजिनेट कर रही है। सो लेट्स गो टू पाकिस्तान एंड लेट्स अंडरमाइन पाकिस्तान सिक्योरिटी, और पाकिस्तान की जहां जहां वीकनेसेस हैं उनके ऊपर कैपिटलाइज करके पाकिस्तान को ठोका जाए। सो दिस इज द आइडिया व्हिच अजीत दोवल केम अप इन 2000, जब उसने ज्वाइन किया। अच्छा, सेम आइडिया वाज एम्प्लॉयड अगेंस्ट पाकिस्तान। और उसके बाद, अच्छा, ये डिफेंसिव ऑफेंस स्ट्रेटजी है क्या? लेट्स फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अंडरस्टैंड दैट। नंबर वन, टू कैपिटलाइज ऑन द सोशो इकोनॉमिक वल्नरेबिलिटीज ऑफ पाकिस्तान। अब सोशो इकोनॉमिक वल्नरेबिलिटीज पाकिस्तान की कहां कहां पे हैं? फाटा में है, because we did not develop FATA since 1970, since 1947, जिसकी वजह से वहां पे टेररिज्म एक्सट्रीमिज्म वहां पे फ्लरिश हुआ। सोशो इकोनॉमिक डेप्रिवेशन कहाँ पे है? और बलोचिस्तान में है ऑफ कोर्स, जिसकी वजह से बलोचिस्तान कुड नॉट डेवलप, जिसकी वजह से वहां पे एलियनेशन है, डिस्क्रिमिनेशन थी, और जिसकी वजह से लोग बहुत सारे आपके खिलाफ हो गए हुकूमत के। सो एक वहां पे आपको एक विंडो नजर आ रही है कि ये लोग आसानी से आपके साथ मिल जाएंगे। सो दिस वाज द आइडिया बिहाइंड कि सोशो इकोनॉमिक वल्नरेबिलिटीज जहां जहां पे हैं उनको कैपिटलाइज किया जाए, उनको पैसे जैसे देके अपने साथ मिलाओ और उनके जो जख्म है उनके ऊपर नमक छिड़को, ठीक है। गिव देम एजलम, पॉलिटिकल एजलम, गिव देम अपॉर्चुनिटीज, गिव देम फंड्स, और उनके बाहर दुनिया में, यूके में, फ्रांस में, अमेरिका में उनके ऑफिसेज बना के उनको पैसा दो, उनकी एम्बेसीज बना दो, जिस तरह इंडिया कर रहा है अभी। बहुत सारे बीएलए के जो लोग हैं, दे आर स्टेशनड इन यूके एंड अमेरिका एंड दे आर गेटिंग रेगुलर फंड्स फ्रॉम इंडिया। अच्छा, तो ये होगी हमारी सोशो इकोनॉमिक वल्नरेबिलिटीज को उनके ऊपर कैपिटलाइज करना। नंबर 2, अंडरमाइन पाकिस्तान इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी। और इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी को अंडरमाइन कैसे किया जा सकता है? इन्हीं लोगों को यूज करके अटैक्स करवाते रहो, धमाके करवाते रहो। एंड दिस इज व्हाट दे डिड इन लास्ट 19 years. And they seriously undermined Pakistan's security. Like, for example, let me give you the example that India and Pakistan fought direct 4 wars in which not more than 15,000 people were killed. But because of the terrorism and extremism, because of the hybrid warfare in last 19 years since 9/11, Pakistan have lost more than 80,000 souls and 7,000 soldiers. Imagine. यानी कि कौन सा थ्रेट ज्यादा बड़ा आपको हुआ? टेररिज्म एंड एक्सट्रीमिज्म वाला, हाइब्रिड वॉरफेयर वाला। उसमें पाकिस्तान के ज्यादा लॉसेस हुए, इकोनॉमिक लॉसेस भी ज्यादा हुए और आपके जो जानी लॉसेस हैं वो भी ज्यादा हुए। तीसरे नंबर पे पॉलिटिकल वल्नरेबिलिटीज पाकिस्तान की जो हैं उनको कैपिटलाइज करें। पॉलिटिकल वल्नरेबिलिटीज हमारी, जैसे कि ये पीटीएम जो इमर्ज हुई है अभी, पख्तून तहफ़्फ़ुज़ मूवमेंट के नाम से एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ये हमारी पॉलिटिकल वल्नरेबिलिटीज की ही एक मुंह बोलता सबूत है। बिकॉज वी हैड नो पॉलिटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ दीज पीपल, जिसकी वजह से ये लोग आज निकल के सामने आए और इन्होंने इस चीज को मैनिपुलेट करना शुरू कर दिया स्लोली एंड ग्रेजुअली। अच्छा, और आपकी पॉलिटिकल वल्नरेबिलिटीज क्या है? कि आपका जो आपके मुल्क के अंदर देयर इज पॉलिटिकली दिस योर कंट्री इज डिवाइडेड। सिंध बिलोंग्स टू पीपीपी, पंजाब बिलोंग्स टू नून लीग, ठीक है। द अदर पार्ट्स ऑफ योर एमक्यूएम कंट्रोल्स कराची, केपीके के अंदर मुख्तलिफ पार्टीज आती रहती हैं। सो योर कंट्री इज डिवाइडेड इन पोलिटिकली डिवाइडेड इन डिफरेंट पार्ट्स, जिसकी वजह से एक जो सियासत हो रही है वो तासुब की बुनियाद पे हो रही है, एथनिसिटी पे हो रही है। एएनपी है तो वो पख्तून्स की बात करते हैं, मुल्क की बात कम करते हैं, पख्तून्स की बात ज्यादा करते हैं, ठीक है। बलोच पार्टीज हैं तो वो बलोचों की ज्यादा बात करते हैं, मुल्क की बात कम होती है। सिंधी जो है पहले भुट्टो को मानते हैं, उसके बाद कायदे आज़म को मान रहे हैं। So such type of issues are there, and your enemy is up against these type of things, और वो इसका फायदा उठाता है। इसके अलावा डिफेंसिव ऑफेंस की जो एक और स्ट्रेटजी के अंदर एक और चीज आती है, इंटरनेशनल आइसोलेशन, व्हिच आई टोल्ड यू बिफोर, that internationally isolate Pakistan. This was the strategy of Ajit Doval practically. और जब से वो हुकूमत में आया उसने यही किया। He collaborated with Israel. They carried out deep-rooted ties with Israel. और इसराइल का आपको पता है कि Jewish lobby is very strong in America, and because of that lobby they tried to isolate Pakistan internationally. और ये जो FATA वाले जो issues आ रहे हैं पाकिस्तान को, या फिर पाकिस्तान के जो और जो issues आ रहे हैं internationally, पाकिस्तान के ऊपर criticism हो रहा है that Pakistan is unable to control its nuclear warhead, Pakistan is a terrorist supporting country, Pakistan support Jaish-e-Mohammed, Pakistan support Lashkar-e-Taiba, Pakistan harbor Haqqani network. So all these sorts of pressures which Pakistan faced, these were instigated by the Indians through their Jewish lobby with the help of Israel. उसके बाद आपके पास अजीत दोवल की एक और स्ट्रेटजी थी कि प्रॉक्सी वॉर इन अफगानिस्तान थ्रू Afghanistan in Pakistan. So this is what we have seen. They supported, they provided funds and everything to the militants. For example, let me give you an example of this guy Latif Mahsood, and he was financer of TTP, and he used to collect funds for TTP, and he was captured by NATO. I think I told you before about this person. So these are the some examples in which